What's up? I'm Jamel Jones, and in this video today, I'm going to show you guys the simplified way of real estate wholesaling. I'm going to teach you how to find, analyze, and close deals for profit without any money out your own pocket or very, very little money out your own pocket. So the wholesale process in itself, what is it? Understanding real estate wholesaling. Real estate wholesaling involves you finding discounted properties, securing them under contract, and then assigning that contract to a cash buyer for a fee. Now, that is literally the entire process. It's so simple that an idiot can do it, and idiots do it every single day. All right, guys, here's the step-by-step process. You're going to find motivated sellers. Motivated sellers are property owners that need to sell quick. They need to sell fast because they have financial issues. They have an inheritance. They didn't want the property in the first place. They're going through a divorce. Literally any of these things could be a reason why a person is a motivated seller. After that, you're going to secure the contract. You're going to lock in a discounted price under a purchase and sales agreement with that homeowner. And from there, you're going to find a cash buyer, and then you're going to assign that contract to that cash buyer for a profit. Literally just that simple. Now, how do you find these deals? Here are some methods of lead generation that I use, and I used when I first got started, and I still continue to use this day. Number one, the most useful and the most effective way of finding leads is driving for dollars. The reason why it's the most effective way is because these properties, these distressed properties that you find driving around your neighborhood, usually they are not on anyone's lists yet. Like these are not properties that you can go onto PropStream or DealMachine or anything like that. By the way, those are the best two softwares to possibly use. I got a link for it somewhere around this video. Go ahead and check it out with a free trial. They're absolutely amazing. Anyway, these distressed properties that you drive for dollars for, they're not going to be anywhere on anybody's list unless they have liens and things like that. They'll show up, but they won't show up for the reason that they show up while you're driving for them. Right. So what you want to look for with distressed properties is, I'll get to that in a second, actually. So direct mail campaigns. You want to send postcards, letters to absentee owners or pre-foreclosures. You could also send postcards. How I got my very first deal is I pulled a tax delinquency list. The county that I live in, I pulled a tax delinquency list and I wrote out postcards. It was about 1,000 of them. I wrote them all out by hand, got some blank postcards from Staples. And I sent them all off and got one guy that called me back. And that was my very first wholesale deal. It was $15,000. Took me 42 days from the time that I mailed those postcards off to the time that I closed. The very next way is cold calling. Cold calling is also super effective, guys. We all hate doing it because we hate to get cursed out. You're going to get cursed out way more than you get somebody that say, hey, yeah, I do actually want to sell my house. But if you knew for a fact, this is an analogy that I like to use with my students, my clients. If you knew for a fact that you had 100,000 contacts and you knew for a fact that one of them in there, you didn't know if it was going to be number 2 or number 100,000. You knew for a fact that one of them in there was and I'm going to exaggerate the numbers, obviously, in this scenario. If you knew for a fact that one of them was $1 million deal, would you call all of those people? Hell yeah, you would. You will sit there and cold call. You probably wouldn't eat. You probably wouldn't do anything but be on that phone until you got that $1 million call, right? So that's the philosophy that I put towards cold calling. It's a pain in the butt and no one wants to do it, but you're going to get deals when you cold call. The next way, which is my favorite way, it's a little bit more, it's a little bit less personal. It's impersonal than actually cold calling. You still get cursed out a lot, but you don't actually hear the voice. So it's a little bit easier and you can do it on a higher scale, meaning you can do more in a less amount of time and for a less amount of money. And that is SMS and emails. SMS are a little bit more expensive than emails, but both of them are fairly inexpensive when it comes to marketing, unless you've got huge, gigantic lists, right? And me personally, I use my system, which is Cosmos AI, which is a GHL-based system to do all of my cold calling, all of my SMS messages, all of my emails, and all of that stuff. And I got it set up pretty good. But anyway, emails. I've gotten deals from emails. This was pre-AI. I had built some follow-up messages that kind of act like how AI does now, but it was mostly all canned responses and stuff. And so my follow-up messages continuously followed up with this one guy. And then I checked the system. I hadn't checked it in a while. And he's like, yeah, come out and see the place. And so I'm looking back through the messages and stuff. The system had been holding an entire conversation with this dude from the very first time when he said, I'm not interested. And the system had automatically put him in a follow-up campaign that reached out to him 3 months later. And then he was interested. And then the system continued to have a conversation with him. And I jumped in and caught those messages because at this time I was going through some stuff. So I wasn't really paying attention to anything that was going on the side of the system. The system was just running itself. And so I jumped in and ended up getting that deal. It wasn't anything but like a $5,000 deal, but it was just the simple fact of the matter that I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything but push a couple of keys and click my mouse a couple of times to get everything started. And over the course of 3 or 4 months, the system had got a deal for me. So if you guys are utilizing any systems with any automations or any capabilities of artificial intelligence or canned responses or anything like that, I recommend using that to its fullest. And if you want to check out Go High Level or Cosmosis, you can find the links in the system. And I'm sure you can find some videos on here somewhere, whatever platform you're watching this video on, of me walking through how to use these systems and how effective they actually are. But we're going to get on to the pro tips for driving for dollars. You want to look for overgrown grass. If it's in the wintertime, unshoveled snow, snow that's in a driveway that don't have any footprints or tire tracks in it. If there's a car in the driveway, you want to look at grass growing up on the side of the wheels, because when people mow the lawn, they can't get that close. And that means that their car is not moving. You also want to look at the stickers on the plates of the vehicles that are sitting in the driveway. If it's an outdated sticker, they are most likely not driving that car. So it's just sitting there. And so all of these things show signs of distress. And the most common one is a full mailbox too. Full mailbox indicates a vacant property. Vacant properties are great. Also, something I didn't plan on telling that I just remembered is your local mail carrier. You got to think about it. Your mailman knows every property that's empty. Get good with your mail carrier. He's going to tell you, he or she or whatever are going to tell you what properties are empty. Get in good with them. All right. So analyzing deals. Once you've gotten someone that's like, okay, yeah, I think I want to sell, and you're ready to move forward with trying to figure out the numbers on this property to try to get this deal, there's some numbers that you got to run. So the first thing I want to teach you guys is the after repair value, or the ARV. This is the estimated post-renovation value. So after the property is fixed up, what will it sell for on market? Repair costs. This is the estimated amount of money that it's going to take to get the property to the after repair value state. Now, the offer price formula. We're going to go over a couple more terms here that you need to know. The maximum allowable offer, or the MAO. Now, here's the formula for wholesaling, for calculating a wholesale deal anyway. You get the maximum allowable offer equals, and in case you don't know, the maximum allowable offer means what number can you get this property under contract where your end investor will still see a profit after he puts money into it, fixes it up, and put it on the market, and you can still make your money off of it, and the seller can still make their money off of it, right? And there's a few of those numbers that can change. I'll go through that after this equation right now. But okay, so just for the sake of round numbers, just for the sake of simplicity, we're going to use round numbers. Maximum allowable offer equals after repair value times 70% minus repair costs minus desired assignment fee. So we're going to say the after repair value is $100,000. 100,000 times 70% is $70,000. Let's say it needs $5,000 in repairs. 70,000 minus 5,000 is 65,000. And just say your desired assignment fee is 5,000. So we got 100,000 minus 30%. That's another way you can look at it. Either times 70% or minus 30%. And that 30% of that equation is the cushion that we leave for the investor. They're going to want to make about 30%. In some areas, it might be a little bit less depending on how quickly properties go. If they can get a quick turnover, then they'll go 15, 20, 30% because it only takes a month or two, especially if the property doesn't need that much renovations. But anyway, so ARV minus 30%. So we had $70,000 minus $5,000 for the repair cost, minus $5,000 for the assignment fee. Now we're at $60,000. $60,000 is our maximum allowable offer. That example I just gave you is a lot simpler, smaller numbers than the one that's on the screen. But the one that's on the screen is also very simple. $200,000 property, $30,000 in repairs. That's $170,000 minus your assignment fee of $10,000. That put us at $160,000. Your maximum allowable offer is $160,000. Now, some really good tools that you can use to get some of these numbers, if you're not too familiar with the manual ways of getting these numbers. Some tools you can use: PropStream, DealMachine. Again, if you want to try those out, they're in the description. The MLS, if you're a real estate agent or if you have access to a real estate agent or a real estate broker or a realtor, whatever. And Zillow. Zillow is a really good free resource that you can utilize for this. And if you're utilizing Zillow, you're going to want to look up comps. Now, comps are comparable properties that recently sold in the area. You want to get the most recent properties, about 5 of them, and you want to average those out. And that's how you're going to figure out your maximum allowable offer. But on tools like PropStream and stuff like that, they do that automatically for you, and they give you a roundabout number because these numbers do not have to be exact. They don't have to be exact. Nothing is ever going to be exact with dealing with properties in real estate. Nothing is ever going to be exact. All right. And so here's a pro tip. You want to use the recent sales in the area for the accurate ARV. So you want to go, if there's a property that's a mile away that sold 3 months ago, that's a recent sale. But if you got a property that's 5 miles away that sold last week, that's not in the vicinity of that property. It might even be a different area code. I mean, a different zip code already, right? So you don't want to use that. So you want to stay within about as close to the target property as possible. When I search on Zillow and PropStream and these other softwares that I use, I start with 0.25 miles. And then I slowly go out until I get all of the properties that I need. And there's going to be some areas that are rural where you're not going to be able to find properties that are really close. And you just have to use the closest properties that you can find, right? All right. So next up is marketing deals to buyers. So at this point, you've already gotten you found your seller, you did the negotiating, you got a price, and you got that contract signed. Now, what do? This is the fun part. This is the part where money starts to come in, guys. So before you even find your first deal, you might want to start building up your buyers list. And you can do that in these following ways. You can attend real estate meetups. There's REIAs all over every city, I guarantee you. Or if you live in a small town close to a big city, guarantee there's REIAs all around. So you can just go on Facebook, join your local Facebook groups, and just ask around, and you'll be able to figure that out. And you go in there and you just start asking questions, tell people what it is you do. You find properties for real estate investors, blah, blah, blah. You get their numbers, you give them your numbers, and you just start building your list that way. How I built my buyers list when I first got started is I posted deals on Craigslist and Facebook. It wasn't even real deals. I just posted deals on Craigslist and Facebook. People who responded to them, they were cash buyers. And so I'd say, hey, I think we already found somebody for this one, but if you would like me to add you to my list, I'll be sure to send you an email when I get more properties. Most people, most investors are going to volunteer their information to you so that you can reach out to them as soon as you get more properties, right? So that's a really quick way to build your buyers list. And you know that these are real people. These aren't just numbers on the screen or names and phone numbers and emails on the screen. These are real people that you're talking to on the phone, right? And you can utilize, this is not on the screen, but you could utilize services like PropStream also. So there's a feature in there where you can search for recently sold homes. And what you do is you click on those and you look at who bought those. And when you see who bought those, if it's like an LLC or something like that, that's an investor. And it also shows you how many properties these people own. So if you find a person that on a recently sold on PropStream and they own 50 properties, guess what? They're an investor. So you want to write their information down. And once you get their name, then you start the skip tracing process, right? And if you've gotten just the LLC, there's ways you can find their information through the LLC. I'm not going to go into that in this video, but there's ways you can find their name based on the LLC or their real name, right? Their phone number based on the LLC or their real name. Okay, so here's a few marketing tips. You're going to want to include details. And this is assuming that you have a property under contract already, not the strategy that we were just talking about. You want to include the property details, your purchase price, your ARV, the repair cost, their ROI, which means return on investment. And you always want to create urgency. You always want to say this deal won't last long and things like that, and let them know that they're not the only player in the game, that you are talking to other investors and that you're not going to hold any properties for them. You're not going to do that, right? And one of the other things that you want to do is make sure that they are real investors, because a lot of these investors, so-called investors, they're just wholesalers and they're sharking and they're trying to steal your deal. So just be wary and be careful with the people who you give your information to and stuff like that. All right. So next up, closing the deal, the best part of this entire experience. These are the steps to finalize your wholesale assignment deal. So you're going to need the assignment contract, which transfers the rights to purchase that property and that purchase and sale agreement that you have with the seller to your buyer. You're going to want to get an earnest money deposit. This is how you really find out if a buyer is real or not. You want to collect an earnest money deposit from them, and they can hold it in escrow at whatever title company that you're using to close the deal. It doesn't have to be substantial, but the larger it is, the more likely they are to be the real deal. So $1,000, $1,500, and make sure that they know. And if you get my agreements, it's already put in there. This is non-refundable. So if you put $2,000 down as an earnest money deposit, and then a week from now you decide you don't want this property, you're not getting that money back. So for any reason, you're not getting that money back. Closing coordination. You want to make sure that you work with the title company. You want to make sure before you do all of this other stuff, you want to make sure that you have a title company or a closing attorney that is familiar with assignment contracts. I have a nationwide assignment-friendly, investor-friendly list that you can find. I'm going to link it in the description. If I forget, just comment or send a message or something, let me know, and I'll remember and I'll post it in there. But it's nationwide, investor-friendly title companies all over the country. Okay, now the payout. You're going to want to collect your assignment fee at closing. How my first deal went, it was weird. It was a weird experience. The seller never showed up. He never even left the state that he lives in. We FedExed him papers. He signed them and FedExed them back. I met at my closing attorney's office with the buyer. I sat back, chilled just like this while they talked, signed like what seemed like 150 billion pages of papers. They walked out. He came back, handed me a check. He went in the back, printed off my check right then and there, took it straight to the bank, $15,000, just like that. I just had to show up. I didn't have to sign anything. I had already did my part. I just showed up for the experience. But anyway, that's it, right? So I want to go over a few deals that I've done in the past, that I've been involved in and that I've done in the past, just to give you guys a better understanding of how these things go, right? So the first deal is a single family home. It was a distressed property. I found through some email automations, high equity absentee list. some tools that I used: skip tracing, Cosmosis, and PropStream. Well, this is the property that I was telling you about, the $5,000 deal. So I had a partner on that deal. I was driving semis at that time, and so he handled the majority of the conversing and everything with the seller. So I peeled him off $2,500. ARV $150,000, repair costs $30,000, purchase price was $80,000. Made a $7,500 assignment fee off of that, and that one took a little while. It took a little bit because we had a buyer that pulled out because we didn't get the whatchamacallit, because it was a buyer that we dealt with before, and so we didn't expect that. So that just goes to show you don't trust people. You don't take people at their word. Get that money. And if they don't deposit that earnest money deposit in escrow within 3 business days of them signing that contract, that assignment contract becomes null and void. And make sure that is in the contract. And if you've got any of my agreements, then you know that it's already in there. All right. So multifamily property. Now, this one was a duplex. Found it at a local meetup. I was working with a realtor. I ain't gonna say his name. We kind of fell out, but I was working with a realtor at this time. And so I had access to the MLS for a little bit. And we used a contractor for the repair estimates. So this property, the ARV was about $300,000. It was a duplex. Some of you guys might know it as a 2-flat, because it was up and down, not side to side. And in Chicago, we call them 2-flats. Here they call them duplexes. I don't know why, but anyway. The repair cost was about $50,000. It needed paint. Obviously, there was a lot of junk over there. It needed a new furnace and just a few other cosmetic things. Boards missing on the stairs, things like that. They're not really serious. So purchase price on that one was $200,000. He still had a loan. Of about, if I remember correctly, about $191,000. And so the reason why this deal works, because you're looking at it and you're going to say, well, that's not a whole lot of money for the investor side. They pay $200,000 in, they put $50,000 into the property, and they pay us $15,000. That's $265,000 on a property that's only worth $300,000. That's a small margin, but it's still a margin. But the investor in this particular deal, like I said, it's a multifamily, it's a duplex. They didn't flip it. They fixed it up and they rented it out. So they're going to get their money back. So that was that deal, right? The final deal was the out-of-state wholesale deal that I talked about a little bit ago. This was a commercial storefront property. It had 2 units. One unit was rented out at $1,600 a month. The other unit needed a little bit of work, but it was vacant, and there was some water damage in the ceiling. And so I wrote out 1,000 postcards, mailed them out. Very first wholesale deal. John gave me a call. I told him what I was trying to do. Man, I'm trying to get my foot in the door to this real estate stuff. I really didn't know anything at this time, guys. I've probably been studying real estate for maybe 2 months at this time. And he's like, hey, tell you what, I appreciate your grind and just, a lot of stuff like that. And he was like, I don't want to drive to Iowa to deal with this property. Give me $100,000 for it. And I don't care how much you make off of it. I'm like, bet. Right. So I started doing everything that I thought of to do. I'm pulling buyers off of PropStream and looking at the assessor site and trying to find buyers and all this other type of stuff. And so the agreement that we had was only 30 days. People was calling him because investors, they know how to find the owners of properties. They calling him. He telling them flat out, deal with Jamil. I have an agreement with Jamil. Deal with Jamil. So the buyer, Jason, I ain't gonna say his last name, but the buyer, Jason, he was one of the ones that reached out, and he was one of the ones that were more serious than some of the others. So he went ahead and he gave me a call. So we chatted it up and stuff. I met him out there, took some pictures and everything. He took it back to he was going to use a realtor. And I'm like, well, bro, why? Like, we have all of this done. But, a lot of people, they don't know that you don't need a license in real estate to close a real estate transaction. So I schooled him a little bit on that. And so he ended up getting rid of the realtor, which saved us some money. on the back end. But anyway, at the time, I did not know what this property was worth. So we see 300,000 on the screen. I didn't know it was worth that much. I had only dealt and studied single families, right? But I'm just knowing, and my homeboy, Rob, who taught me a lot about real estate wholesaling. He was like, man, you need to just go ahead and forget that deal and go ahead and just focus on single families. So I followed through with it, and I tried to get 25,000 out of him. I told him 125,000. I'm not budging, none of that. Just get 125,000. So he wasn't budging. Like, all right, man, screw it. Just go ahead and give me 15. He's like, bet. We did the purchase and sale agreement. I did not get a earnest money deposit that time. I was still green. So, I didn't even really know that was a thing around that time. But he was a man of his word. He came through and he purchased the property, got my 15,000. He fixed it up and he put another storefront in there, a pizza place, I think it was. So it was a pizza place and a check cashing place, a payday loan spot. So I'm assuming that he probably went up on their rent. So he's probably making $4,000 a month off of that deal, off of those properties, off of that property. That's that. And the key takeaways that we want to get from this, guys, are find motivated sellers through outreach, whether this is cold calling, driving for dollars, emailing, SMS messages. You need somewhere to start if you're going to be doing those things. And I recommend PropStream and or DealMachine. PropStream is $97 a month. You get up to 10,000 records to pull per month. You get up to 10,000 records to add to your database inside of PropStream, and you can pull 10,000 records out of the system. They do have a skip tracing, but honestly, their skip tracing is not that great inside of PropStream. DealMachine, they have a few different levels. Their lowest plan is $97 a month for 10,000 records. And the great thing about a DealMachine is all of your records are skip traced already. So skip tracing can add up when you are doing marketing and volume. So, but they both have their own things. Like there are some features that PropStream has that DealMachine doesn't. And obviously like the skip tracing, DealMachine has that PropStream doesn't. I recommend grabbing a free trial for both and just checking them out and seeing which one you like the best. If you can't afford them both, choose one. If you can't afford them both, I recommend you keep them both. All right. So analyze deals with the formulas and the tools. I've also got a wholesale calculator somewhere around here. I'll probably put that in the description as well. Where you just type in some numbers, square footage and everything like that. And it prints out some roundabout numbers for you. So if you're on the fly, you're on the phone with somebody that's going to be hostile, which is going to be a thing, man, just give me an offer. Just give me an offer. And you don't really have time to run the numbers. You just boop, 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 and just throw a number at him and see what he says. All right. So build and maintain a buyer's list. And this can actually be the first thing that you do. Just go on Craigslist or Zillow and look at a property and just mimic that and put that on somewhere, right? And just watch the amount of attention that post gets and just record those people's information. Final takeaway that I want to get you guys with this is a lot of us watch some pretty old videos, some videos from 10 plus years ago. Technology was a lot different 10 years ago. The real estate game was a lot different 10 years ago. During COVID was when the influx of real estate wholesalers and real estate assignments and lease options and subject tools and stuff like that, they've always been a thing, but it exploded during that because a lot of people were getting laid off and everything. And so a lot of people didn't have nothing to do but sit up and learn stuff. My point is you're going to see a lot of videos that are dated with some dated strategies that don't work anymore. Utilize technology to your benefits. Right? Technology is made to make our life a little bit easier, to make our lives a little bit easier. So utilize softwares. There's a lot of them out there. There's no shortage of real estate CRMs or real estate marketing or lead generation CRMs or whatever. There's no shortage. If you want to check out the ones that I use, like I said, I use my GHL-based system, Cosmosis, REI. Check out some videos. If it looks like something that you want to try out or something like that, just holler at me, let you get a free account, see if it's something that you actually like or whatever. And yeah, that's that. Make sure you utilize technology to your advantage, man, because there's people out here that are still doing deals the old ways and their businesses are dying. So anyway, subscribe, guys, for more wholesaling success tips. Don't miss the next deal making strategy, and go ahead and like this video and share it with whoever that you think may benefit from it, no matter what platform it's on. We might be on YouTube. We might be on TikTok. I don't know. I don't care. Just share. All right. Share and share alike. But again, I'm Jamel Jones, the Lone Wolf Entrepreneur, and this has been a video on wholesaling simplified. I'll see you guys in the next one.